Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Big Show, episode 7. Just drop in the chat. I know there's a few of you online now. Drop in the chat if you can hear me, and then we'll get going. Got plenty to get through tonight because there's been a heap of action, as you would all know, over the last 7 days since we last caught up. I can't believe how many sales there's been, and everything going on. It's been a massive week for us. So can someone just drop in the yeah, you can hear us all good. Cheers, Jason. Okay, let's launch straight into it. I'll tell you, if anyone's pretty good with graphics, I'm intentionally making these graphics terrible, so eventually somebody comes and offers to help me out, but I'm desperate for some new graphics, so that's absolutely on the radar, on the agenda. We'll start off in the usual spot. I think what I'd say is if you have any questions as we're going through, there's been a few things that I've picked up on in the Discord that I've tried to cover off. We don't have a lot of time here on a Sunday, and I don't want these to run on for hours and hours, but if you have any questions, just shout out as we're going along. Better if it's interactive, and I'm happy to try and take some stuff on the fly and have a look at what's more of interest. A couple of things we'll touch on today, particularly the number of unique owners. I think that's something we need to have a good look at, and I'll point out, and we'll go through the usual data around that. But there's been an interesting trend in that over the last week. Obviously, the activities, the main place we usually start, and we'll have a bit of a look at the floor, but the activity over the last week's been the biggest week, or the biggest streak of 7 days that we've had in NFTeams. That's the 90-day chart there, which shows the peak that we've had over the last little while, and the number of sales and the volume. If you look at the last 7 days on OpenSea, it's quite incredible, the 7-day average price. I mean, the floors bounced around between 0.16, 0.17 up to 0.2. I think we got it one stage when OpenSea wasn't behaving itself, but you couldn't buy a team for less than 0.2. But the 7-day average price of 0.23 is massive. It's around about 0.17, I think. 0.17, I think, this time last week. And if you look at the 14-day average, it'll be around about 0.2. So it's been a massive week. I think it's the cat's out the bag. The few of the stats we'll look at as we go. People are starting to really invest in the product and the business that is NFTeams, and I think that's a really interesting thing. A lot of us have been involved and really intrigued with the project from day one. A lot of people new to NFTeams, not knowing what to expect. I think the change that I've seen over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks is people really starting to part with hard-earned cash, albeit ETH is down, so it's cheaper to get hold of ETH, but people are really starting to invest, and that 7-day average price, if you just scroll through some of the sales that have been going on, even just today, the Awesome Tuxedos went for 0.65. That was a team that had nearly 330 stats points, so that's why that was high. You've got the Hydras, which we'll talk on a little bit later on. The Useful Aliens, again, 0.75 for a sponsor team, and with some good stats. Another sponsor team at 0.5. It was only last week when we were talking about some sponsor teams at 0.3 something, 0.4. The Wielding Gods, another good sale, which was the Zeus, and the Zeus has obviously been a bit of a run on the Zeuses, and Girlbot's been championing that. There's been a lot of sales that they're not just floor teams. There's been a couple of floor teams that have been there for a little while now and haven't been picked up, which is keeping the floor low. But pleasing to see now that people have always sniped once or twice the higher end of the market when there's been a couple of bargains. But I think December and half of January, even the end of November, we really went through a run where the highest sale was 0.4, 0.5. There was a few times we did the shows where we didn't have a 1/8 sale. I don't think we'll see that again. I think every week now we'll see at least one ETH sale, and there's been multiple over the last 7 days. So I think that's always a good sign. Floor price, total volume spent, but the average price gives you a good indication on whether or not it's just floor teams, or whether or not people are investing at the higher level. And I think with that signal that I'm starting to see more people invest higher is a really good sign for the project, because it shows that people are willing to part with significant sums of cash, and also it's a pointer to the long term. Definitely, Jason, shout out to yourself, but also Cameron and Brad, who are listening along with you. You'll have to get them all set up with their own YouTube and log in so we can boost the number of people watching. But thanks. Good to have you along, lads, Cameron and Brad. Dan Gray, I think the high floor price is good for a few reasons, but I'm going to touch on that in a minute. There's a couple of things with the floor that essentially we've been at we'll talk about it now. We've been at a floor price of sub 0.1 for three and a half months since we minted. The floor didn't really get above 0.1. We were often having these shows before Christmas, talking about breaking through at the 0.0 ETH, so breaking through the mint price. And that was a big moment when we did, live on the stream, we talked about it. We're way ahead of that now, and I think what's happened is the people, we've seen it over the last week, and I'm certain this is one of the reasons why the number of unique wallets has dropped. I think we've seen people invest in NFTeams to start off with, not really 100% sure where it was going to go. The floor stayed settled, and a lot of people paper-handed up some really good bargains, and we all feasted on those 0.1s, 0.09s bargains that were available. But I think there were a number of people that get involved in these projects that were just holding on to make some money. And now the floor price is well over double the mint price. You can effectively, if you had a bunch of teams, you can effectively get out with double your money. And over 4 months, if anyone's finding a product or an investment that's doubling their money, albeit ETH is down, they're still walking away with a good profit. And I think we've just tipped into that zone where people are starting to get double their money type profits, and they've started to offload a few teams. We've seen a couple of wallets which not just had one or two, but had 5, 6, 10 teams that have sort of listed them all at the floor price or around about the floor price, taking the profit and moving on. So I think we might stick around this level for a little while. I think between the 0.17 and the 0.2. And we'll have a quick look now. So this is just filtered by floor price. If you click on the floor price, it just gives you the buy now price and the lowest first. OpenSea is still glitching and it is still behind. So sometimes you'll see a team that's there and you'll go to click on it and it'll be gone. That is just OpenSea being glitchy. But effectively, we don't have a long way to go before we get to 0.2. There's around about there's 13 teams now before we get to 0.2. I might just bring up the NFTeams graph 1 second. Yeah, this one. The graph that you can see on the screen there, we will get rid of the 0.1, 0.12, 0.15 lines, but there's been a massive, obviously, the last week just goes to show it, the 0.25, which is the orange line, and the 0.4. Every single day there's just sale after sale after sale, and the total numbers are really tumbling. We're only, as we've seen, just 13 teams away from hitting 0.2, which will be a bit of a milestone, and 56 teams away from hitting 0.25. So you got to think, we've got the Beard Bears group that are sat there with 10 ETH in their pocket. 10 ETH certainly wouldn't get you 100 teams like it might have done when we first heard about the 10 ETH investment. You're looking at around about 40 teams now, depending on if they just pick floor teams. It's going to be 40 to 50 teams. But conceivably, if they come along and buy those teams and there's a rush on sales and people see it, it wouldn't take us long before the floor price is up at 0.25. So I think there's potential for us to continue moving. I picked up another team today. I think it was 0.16, paid about 0.02 for gas. And if I'm honest, that was really just a strategic play to think, look, I've got a feeling this is going to, with the investment that we know is coming, with the tournament starting to launch for real, I've got a feeling Steve's got a few sponsors lined up. I think it's just going to be, the beta tournament will be given away. I think there's just going to be hype on hype for the next couple of weeks. Beard Bear team will come in at middle of February. I think the floor will be 0.25, 3 weeks time or something, and then that 0.16 investment makes a little bit of money. So I think it's probably, the floor's probably in the right place now, but I don't see it going backwards. Yeah, Shinted, the graph I just started off for myself because I was trying to track and look at trends, and I couldn't find this data anywhere available. I mean, I'd wish I'd been tracking 0.4 and 0.25 a little bit earlier, to be honest, but I probably wasn't as bullish as what the reality has turned out to be. But at the end of the day, I think it's just extra information for us all to make interpretations of. I just want to have a quick look at this one. This is another one which is a good news story. They're not all good news stories, the data, but we'll look at them anyway. The total number of sales when I logged it tonight, just before coming on here, was 606. And it did dip down to 599 today, and I noticed Steve sent out a tweet being less than 6%. Simouth and I were talking in almost I think it was the trading thread channel earlier on today. I don't know how we're going to capture this information moving forward. This is just the OpenSea data. It's very easy to get it on OpenSea, not as easy to get it on LuxRare. There's currently 61 teams available for NFTeams on LuxRare for sale. Some of them are high prices, but 50 something of those are below 1 ETH. I believe nearly every single one of those is also listed on OpenSea, but with the outages we've seen, today is another good example. I don't think it'll be long before people turn to LuxRare and start to list only on that. So how people, not just NFTeams, not just myself, start to I guess show this kind of data when you've got two platforms that are ongoing might be a little bit tricky. But again, every week that we have this conversation, every day there's a lower number of teams available for sale, and that's driving the floor price up. We don't really advertise it too much. There's a group of us on Twitter. We probably all think there's heaps of Twitter activity, but outside of our own little bubble, there's probably not a lot of people knowing that this is going on. But I think when we see that run of teams, when there's 10 ETH pumped in from the Beard Bear group, when there's a few people ride on the back of that and pick up some teams, I think that's a good opportunity for us to push this message out again and start telling people 6% is about as low as you're going to get. In terms of shouting it out, actually, I did want to drop this up on the screen. We haven't really had many influencers that have taken any notice, but to my surprise, my mate Crystal give us a bit of a tick of approval. So she's absolutely on the hit list. I think we're doing something wrong if we can't get her to get a team. So the amount of time she's online and the amount of stuff she posts, I'm pretty sure she's got a team behind working on it. But if we can convince the team, to buy in NFTeams, I mean, Paris Hilton followed Steve earlier on in the week as well through the Ape connection. Those are the types of people that we're not chasing influencers. We're chasing sports stars that are wanting to get involved and actually be involved in the project. But it doesn't take much to turn the dial and have one or two people who've got those big followers follow the project, and we'll take off, and that floor price will be rocketing up. So I'm still super bullish. I think the floor price has got certainly got wiggle room. Just going back to some of the questions. Mark's just put in thoughts on the high sales but the lower wallet numbers. I think it's probably a good time to jump to the number of owners, because I think this is probably, for me, I have a call every week with the lads that have that are invested in the group. I've got about 10 of the teams in my wallet that are shared. We have a weekly catch up since the start of the year as things have started to pick up, and one of the things I try and talk to them about is this number of owners, and the little microcosm of our little group is probably a good example of what's going on elsewhere with either individuals, pairs or groups of people. it goes back to what I've just said. All of us in the project know the project really well. We think it's great. We're all invested. A lot of people, there's not many people have one or just two teams anymore. We have a lot of people that have got significant investment in this, both with numbers of teams, but also in ETH and dollars. And I think what we've seen as this growth has come, as we've started to become more bullish, we've seen the tournaments, we've seen the giveaways, the Australian Open stuff. I think all of us, everyone listening here, are so invested. We've thought, oh shit, we've got to get more investment in here. Like as I've just said, I did it earlier on today. I don't really need any more teams, but I can see the value in having more. And I think this last 2 weeks, if you look at the overall number of unique wallets, we peaked up at 2177, 2178 a couple of weeks ago, and since then there's been a steady trend down, and there's actually been around about 30 less unique wallets in the project. Now, one of the key indicators and milestones that we've got as a group, and Steve champions this, is by the end of the year, and that's a long time away, having 3,000 unique wallets. I think that's still achievable, but what I think we're going through now is a period of time where the real value in terms of dollars and ETH and potential profit is being seen by a lot of people on the inside, and they're buying things up, which is what I'm doing, which is what my friends want me to do. They want to buy in more. We made a decision early on in the week to buy another 2 teams and across a couple of our groups. I think we're all buying more up, and I think combined with what we talked about earlier in the floor price, there's some people that have had ETH locked into the project for a while and now taking profits out, and we're losing those unique wallets. So I think it's just a small time thing. We've gone through this before. If you look at the all-time graph of unique wallets, we have gone through these dips before in the run up to Christmas, where things were quiet. People weren't really finding new projects and weren't really wanting to go out and look for new things, but we were slowly building our own rosters up. So it's more the internal group of people are buying things up. We saw a bit of a boom, a bit of marketing, the tournaments. There was a lot of talk about it, the Australian Open collaboration, and then we're going back down the slope. But I don't think it'll be too long before this turns around, because the tournaments for real will kick off. I think Steve has got a few things up his sleeve planned for February, and I think this will turn around. I think it's just been a weird 2 weeks where we've us on the inside have become more and more bullish, and I think most projects would see this kind of dip when that happens, but I'd expect that to change around. So it's a long way of sort of answering your question in terms of the lower wallet numbers and the higher sales, but I think that's probably the best way with the data and the graph to show it. You're right, Dan. Having multiple platforms will make it hard to track. We'll have to find a contract reading tool. Contract reading tools are a bit beyond my capability at the moment, but I have been trying to think of a way to do it. What you can imagine, though, is if we're having that conversation now, there'll be smarter people than you or I probably out there solving that problem as we speak. So we will keep an eye on that. There's only 61 teams on LuxRare at the moment, so it's not a massive amount, but I think that'll only grow and grow and grow the more that OpenSea, and then obviously you're going to have new providers coming in all of the time throughout this year, so we'll have to have a way around it. Welcome, Jordan, just logged in. Poker Mad Hatter, good to see you, mate. I think I'm not worried by it, but I think it's just something we've got to continue to keep an eye on. I can remember Steve back in month 1 was saying he might tank the project for a bit if we all just continue buying up teams. And if you have a look at the Etherscan list of token holders, you go to the contract, you go to holders, tokens, and then holders. Girlbot's been on another tear, and we'll have a look at that in a second. 114 teams now, which is just incredible. 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s. We've got a lot of people with a number of teams that are 35s. The top 20 is made up of people with 30 teams. That's significant investment. When the floor gets to 0.2, that's 6 ETH minimum worth of teams, and that there's people on this list who've got all these teams. They're not messing around with just floor teams either. So you're talking 6, 7, 8, 9, sometimes 10 ETH worth of investment, which is no small amount. And there's some smart people behind these contracts, behind these wallet addresses, which have made the decision, like I have. I think I've picked 5 or 6 up in the last couple of weeks, just to build a bit more of a base with a project that you think is going to do well long term. Just going back to the questions, yeah, 114 Girlbot's amazing. I think it's probably a good time just for us to have a quick look at the Girlbot wallet. I have asked if I could do this, so hopefully we don't embarrass anybody by doing this. But NFTeams in the wallet, if you're feeling down on your life, if you want to just go and cheer yourself up, either look at the Twitter library that I've got going on my page, or just come to Girlbot's wallet, because it's I think I've got everyone back there. Someone just drop in the chat if you can hear me. Sorry about that. I think that was the internet dropping out at my end. Yeah, we'll keep going. Sorry about that, lads. Lots of good Newcastle tops. Look at this cool panda. It was picked up for 0.15. Super smart. Great shopping along the way and just chipping away at it. And obviously, I think we all saw the big purchase this week. One of the biggest purchases we've had in the tournament, certainly in the project, certainly the top 5, the Halton Hydras. And I just wanted to spend 5 minutes talking about the Hydras, because we haven't really touched on the Hydras very much over the last little while. Oh yeah, talk about the beers. I'm on the goat. I've got what have we got here? The Mighty Mutant Unicorns, which is one of the teams I'm in with the boys. We just got some merch delivered, which we're going to hand out to the group. Got my little stubby holder. Goat beer. Eventually we're going to get them on as a sponsor for the big show, let alone just the NFTeams. But shout out to Mountain Goat and Goat beer. It's good stuff. So the Halton Hydras levels aren't anything to be talked about, but I don't think anyone cares when you own a Hydra. 2.8 ETH. I had this down as bargain of the week. Now it's hard to think 2.8 ETH is bargain of the week, but the last Hydra that was sold went for 1.8 ETH about 6 weeks ago, just before Christmas, and at the time the floor was around about 0.08. So when you do the maths on that, it was around about 22 times the floor price, and the Hydra before that was a couple of months before that, and I think it was nearly getting towards 28, 30 times the floor price. And I can remember having a conversation in the general chat to say, would you rather have 30 floor teams or one Hydra? And I think at the time I thought, I'd probably rather have 30 floor teams, to be honest. And as time's gone by, and as this particular purchase shows from Girlbot, the floor was 0.18 when the purchase was made. That's 15.5 times the floor price at 2.8 ETH. So when you look at it that way, it's actually a pretty shrewd investment. It's the premier, albeit the Ollies are out of commission at the moment, but it's the premier. There's only 44 of them in the whole collection, and they're pretty hard to get their hands on. The floor for the Hydras, I put this up earlier more as a bit of a talking point, and I don't expect it to go off, but current floor is 28 times, so that's pretty high. I wouldn't advise anyone paying 4.85 for a Hydra at the moment, but it doesn't take long. As we've just talked about, that 4.85 quickly goes back down to less than 20 times the floor price when we see a movement over the next couple of weeks, which is what I'm expecting to see. So you never know, somebody might start to look at these higher end and be looking to pay up to 5 ETH for a Hydra. Jumping around a little bit here, just off the back of the questions, but I'm happy to do that. I wondered what went on with the internet. It's been pretty stable since we upgraded it, and I'm conscious of trying to keep the stream going, but apologies for that. Jan, the Hawthorn Hydras. I don't know if Girlbot's a Hawthorn fan, but they're not my favorite. Not my favorite jersey, obviously, but I think it was a pretty smart looking Hydra, to be honest, and I think she's getting a pretty good bargain. Thanks, Simon. You're bullish on the sponsor backgrounds in your wallet currently. Look, I think sponsor backgrounds are are something that we've talked about quite a bit, and I've only got one now. I used to have two. I sold them. I bought back in. I've had a right ding dong affair with the sponsor backgrounds because I'm just not sure what Steve's got planned. To be honest, it just feels like it could be anything. It could be massive. It could be nothing. Um, I'm just not sure. I've got one in the locker just in case, and I'm happy I did because I think the premium on those now, as you can see, the floor on the sponsors is 0.83, which is doubled in the space of a week or so. And you look at the recent sales on them, they're not messing around. About 0.75, that had some good stats. I think the Useful Aliens, 0.5, 0.47, 0.4. They are trending in an upward direction. And again, it just becomes supply and demand because there's just not the number of teams available with certain types of traits. We're just going to touch on that in a minute with the suits. But if you want a sponsor background now, you're pretty much priced out. You can't. Sponsor backgrounds have been, three times the floor for months and months, and now you're looking at paying 5, 6 times the floor to get hold of one. I don't think it's necessarily a bad investment, but for 0.83, I think there's probably a few of the teams that I would probably pick. But then again, if a big announcement comes along, I'm sure these couple here would get snapped up straight away. So I'm sort of semi-bullish on it, Simon. I'm not. I just don't know what to think about them anymore, and I've gone backward and forward with them, and a few of them that have been sold over the last week, I've thought, oh, probably would have paid zero point 0.4 for that in hindsight, but I'm not sure. So I think I'll just stick with the one that I've got. You've obviously got two, which is in a good spot, but and just see what happens over the next few weeks to see if we get any more information on more sponsors, and then if the sponsor background is going to be utilized for anything. Shintage, yeah, looks cool. Are people buying on the hope of future utility, which may never come? It's pretty much what I've just said in 3 minutes. You've summed up in one line. I need to be a bit more concise on the stream, but absolutely, that's what's happening. I've hedged my bets. I've only got one. I used to have two. Do you want to pay 0.8 for a punt? I'd probably say a no at the moment, but yeah, look, if the announcement comes, these will fly off the shelves. One of the interesting ones that we had a bit of chatter about in the Discord earlier on in the week that I just thought I'd showcase. Justice, I don't know if Justice is listening. We'll do robots next week. We've been putting it off for months, but we will do robots next week. I've spent a bit of time looking at the robots, and we'll cover that off in next week's stream. But the suits been really, really interesting. Now, if I can just go to Rarity Sniper. We'll do this on the fly. I should have prepared this earlier. Anyone who doesn't use this NFTeams, it's spelt wrong on here, and we haven't had it corrected. Probably charge you like 2 ETH to correct the name. I always go here for the stats. I used to use the NFTeams website, but I tend to use this now. It's just got a little bit more functionality. You can combine things a little bit easier. So the suits here, you can see there's a total of 188 suits. There was somebody in the Discord earlier on today, and I've forgotten the name, so apologies for that, that was saying that they've got 40-something teams that they haven't actually revealed, which I thought was amazing after 4 months of the project being minted to not have revealed your teams. And what you're seeing here on OpenSea, which is why I don't use the OpenSea data, 169 suits, it says that are available in the collection. But when you go to Rarity Sniper, you can see it's 188. And the difference there just means, most of you know this, the difference there just means there's 19 suits in the collection that haven't been revealed, so the metadata hasn't been refreshed. So the guy who's got 40 odd teams waiting to be refreshed, there's probably going to be a fair amount of suits in there, I would imagine. But unfortunately, there's 44 Hydras in the collection, and 44 Hydras have been revealed on OpenSea, so I don't think they're going to get a Hydra. So I just wanted to point the suits out. There's been 5 sales in the last week. Average price was 0.26 ETH, which is reasonable. You obviously have other traits that people look for when they're buying a team, so people might just go for it for the suits, but it's just another example of where people have honed in on 1 or 2 traits. They've really liked them. The sponsor background's another great example, Simon. The suits are one that have just slowly snuck under the radar. We've only briefly touched on them on the big show back in episode 2 or 3, I think. Um, and over the last week, you could have picked up suits at 0.2, around about that. 0.26 is the average, 0.3 if you went for. But now you're looking at 0.39 for a suit. The reason I wanted to focus on this is because there's 188 of them, which means there's probably a few people on watching on now, and there's probably a fair amount of the usuals and the regulars in the Discord have probably got a team with a suit on it now. Whilst there hasn't been any, sales up at 0.39 for a standard suit team, that if you put a suit in 0.35 and it sells, I think potentially, depending on the stats and the other traits that it's got, it's potentially a good sale to make at the moment. I think it looks good, absolutely. I agree, Jan. It's a very smart looking. Like, you look at the drawer and chimps here, it's up for $1. Sorry, 1/8. 9 times its price that it was bought for recently. It's probably one of the smartest looking chimps. Let's have a good look at it. It's probably one of the smartest looking chimps you'll see in the whole collection. It just looks cool. The hat, not 100% sure of, but the suit does just make the teams look better, and that's why there's been a bit of a run on them. So 0.39 for your suits. I don't think we'll find any that have got glasses on. Oh, here they are. Yeah, they're not for sale, but when you start getting the suits with the teams that have got the glasses on, it just takes them to another level. They're just very, very good looking teams, and it just goes to show. And the reason why I wanted to highlight it is, there's not it's not just down to stats. It's not just down to floor prices. People are still Hey guys, sorry about that. I think I lost you again there, but we're back. It must just be the internet dropping out. I've got a suit team, but yeah, it's just been really, really interesting. I think as Ben points out, just imagine, if you have a look at this one here, the Focus Mallards. You wouldn't do it with this team, but the medal around the neck with the suit on. Just imagine the OG pass. Like, come on, that's gonna look pretty damn good if you have your OG pass and you've got a pretty good team with a suit on. So maybe a few people have snapped those up, but it just goes to show it doesn't have to be the team with the best character that's selling high or the most stats. People are paying decent amounts for one or two traits, and obviously the floor prices are going up. If someone comes along and sweeps the floor of the suits, you're only got 3 sales to go before you're on 1/8. So look, keep an eye out for traits like that, and if you're bullish on them, pick a few up. I had the gas up. I think the gas went down to something like 60. I think it was at 40 earlier on. So I was expecting a few sales to go off. I haven't been monitoring the sales, but actually while we've been on, but the gas went down. I think it was down to 60 or something. The weekend's always the best time for gas. So we'll wrap it up. Any more questions before we proceed to the duck race? Nothing I can see in there. Yeah, Andrew, thanks. I didn't hear the rumor that Steve said he would remove the face masks when COVID goes away. I mean, I think we'd all love it. I think anyone with a face mask team would probably get a 50% boost in their price, because it's definitely one of the ones where when you look at the floor of the project, well, there you go. The 3 on the floor have all got face masks on, and that's 5 out of the bottom 8. So yeah, it's probably it's getting into zombie realm. It's probably overtaken zombies, actually. Zombies, there's a few of them down here, but yeah, the face masks, they just cover the team up. I've talked about this before as well. The teams are so nice, the good, like the art is so good that it just covers the teams up. Okay, 2 things. Duck race is for the we're going to give a wild card away for Ballman Project. We've obviously had a collaboration with NFTeams. We give away a few wild cards then. I didn't get it over the line in time, and I'll probably talk about this in the community involvement channel over the next week. I want people's involvement. I've been thinking about trying to set up a way of syndicating a team within NFTeams. So people who watch this show Every week we do duck races for people to get shares in a team, and we own the team together. Um, I know I'm talking about it on here. Don't hold me to it. It might not come through. You've got to think about the logistics of how you enter it to a tournament, which wallet does it sit in, and all the rest of it. But I think it'd just be good to have a way of getting people behind one team that's part of like the almost like the Big Show team, but it's actually owned by winners of the duck race, and that's what I'm thinking out loud. I couldn't get it over the line logistically to announce for the duck race today, so we're stuck with one wild card for Ballman, but that'll give you a bit of a cheaper sale if you're thinking about minting it, or you can pass it to someone else. But have a think about that if you're online, DM me or get in community involvement. We'll have a chat about how we can chop that up in terms of um, who's involved in a team. I'll put a team up. It'll probably be a duck team. I'll either buy a new one or I'll use one that I've got myself. I've got a few of them. And we'll start to share the ownership, and we'll have a look at doing that and the logistics around it. So if you've got some ideas, yeah, names, we can name it in March and April. So whoever's in on the team, then you can name it, and we'll have a good chat about it then. So just something I want you to have a think about. I'm trying to think of ways to get people more engaged with the show, obviously, but I think it'd just be pretty cool for. We've all got friends who we've got teams with, and I've been thinking of ways to try and get them involved with selecting the tips and all that for the tournament. But I think if we had a little Discord channel with the Big Show Duck or something better named than that, um, we'd probably be we'd probably have a bit of fun. And obviously, if it won any prizes and we share it amongst the group, go down pretty good. So please have a think about that. Have a think about what you think of the idea, logistics around how we could split it up and that kind of thing. And I'll get the chat going, and we'll try and see if we can and see if we can get something going for next week. And we'll maybe do like weekly duck races, and the top few go through, and whoever wins every month gets a share in the team. Adam saying, yeah, it was mentioned at the AO meetup, so getting rid of the mask. I mean, I think everybody, if there was a vote, we've got the voting channel, we never use it, but anyone who's listening who's on the panel, or if we can get a vote going, I think it would be 90% plus would be interested in getting rid of those masks. I'm just trying to, as we're talking, trying to get the last of the names in here. The guys at the top, Likeable Board Apes, the Holden Mallards, Certified Bulls, you were in early, so thanks for getting your names in early. Anybody else has got? Anybody else? Have I got the minted bulls? No, I haven't. Okay, any more? Any more teams that anyone's got that wants to potentially? No mask, no injuries, no black eyes. I think you've got to have some of the worst traits in there because it sort of gives us a bit of a price difference. But yeah, and I think Brad, that just trying to bring a different angle. If we've got a duck team and we're doing duck races and one of our ducks gets towards the final and there's 10, 15, 20 people in it, all of who watch the show, I think it'd be pretty good, to be honest. But we'll have a look. So okay, Thunder Apes, we've got 11. Coffin Ducklands, did I get those in? I can't. I hope people aren't entering more than one. I haven't been able to check while we've been and I haven't been able to check to see, but hopefully people haven't put more than one in. Stablecoin koalas. Okay, I'm going to put it at that. Sorry if I've missed anyone. You did have your chance for 2 hours before the stream. Look out for it next week. Let's do 60 seconds. I like to chat and I like to talk through it, so we'll set it at 60. Okay, let's go. Thunder Apes with an early lead. I'm just going to have a swig of beer before I call the race. There's been a few of these if you've been following Beard Bears. Some of the ones from the back that you expect to come in at the end haven't actually been winning. So the OG Gate has taken early lead. Certified Bulls there in lane 3. Likeable Board Apes down in lane 1. Stablecoin Koalas at the top. The purple duck, you can't miss it, coming through. And then the Pirate Mallards looks like some kind of strawberry duck, which is just bizarre. Wolfpack right at the back might be coming to make a late surge. That's normally one of the ones from the back that come and win with the Santa hat on. United States Drakes there with the stars, not quite the the blue and blue, red and white, but the pink. Who's going to make a late surge? Here comes the Bulls. We've got 10 seconds to go. Certified Bulls, Thunder Apes coming through. Who's going to make a last ditch? There's got to be someone comes out of the pack. The Certified Bulls. Oh, it's taking it out. Certified Bulls has won. Whose is the Certified Bulls? Number 3. Well, that was good because it got in. It got in early in the chat. Certified Bulls was Adzi. Adzi, is he online? And some of the lads that put them in after the stream had started, so I missed the names for some of those. Well, Adzi, you're supposed to be online. If you don't make yourself known, we might have to have a count back. So I'll give him a. Oh, he is online. Well done, lad. Nice win, Certified Bulls. I'll stick you a wild card spot. If you don't want it or you don't think you'll mint Ballman, find somebody in the NFTeams community that'll mint one. It gets you 0.02 off the whitelist price. Anybody who is in NFTeams who wants a whitelist, let me know. That project is actually doing a lot better than even I thought. We've got a breaking news that will come out today. I think we've got some of you would have seen it actually. We've got a collaboration coming up with the Lazy Lions. They're going to promote Stan Wawrinka in the project over the next few days. We've got a couple of other big people we're talking to, and then obviously the sponsor for that project, Swissborg, have come in. So it's actually gaining a lot of traction, and I'll try and look after you guys where I can. Those of you that got in on the merch will probably start going out middle of February, hopefully get to you by the end of February, but don't hold me on that because it's been it's taken a while to get that merch sorted. It's some of the stuff within my control online, the Discord, this sort of stuff, but some of the other stuff, it's happening all the way over in Paris. I can't control that. Yeah, thanks for logging on, lads. As I said before, the questions coming through always make for a bit of a better show. I try and prepare something, but appreciate all the questions. We will be trying to build this show out once I've worked out the best format. I'm still taking some advice on some people in the YouTube space on how best to do it, but I do want to start talking about other projects, probably start talking about projects that I'm involved with a little bit more and try to give you some inside information, do more giveaways, and then build it out into a little bit more of an alpha type discussion every week, backward and forward as well with questions. The last plug I'll give for any of you that aren't in the Wheel Together project, that is minting on the 3rd of Feb. I think pre-sale might even be the 2nd. Don't hold me to it. There's a little countdown timer that we've just put in today in the Discord for Wheel Together. Check that project out. We can give you, we can get you one of the whitelist spots if you haven't already got one. There's a Wheel Together. We haven't actually got a Wheel Together sub channel in the Discord NFTeams, but if you jump in the Wheel Together, hit up SD or myself. We'll look after you there. I think that's going to be a very nice project moving forward, and there's a lot of smart people in that project, which we've got a lot of smart people in NFTeams, but they're also over there, and I think I've noticed a big difference in what I do with my mints and my time at the moment off the back of being in Wheel Together. So if you haven't already, check that out, because that's mint in middle of next week, and I think that one, I wouldn't advertise getting it and flipping it, to be honest. I want people to buy in and keep hold of it, but your whitelist spot gets you 2 mints, so you buy one, it's a bit of an access card, so you'll get all the alpha channels. There's a tool that they're bringing out which is going to be fantastic, an extension for your browser, which is going to give you opportunities to mint direct from the contract. One-click purchases, saving you having to go through OpenSea, and then rarity scores. So I think that in itself is worth the money that you pay. But have a look at it, check it out. We'll wrap it up now. Tip for the tennis, I think it's probably started. I want Nadal to win. I want him to get the record. I don't mind him, and Medvedev's been a complete pillock, but there's lots of people got tips and predictions in. We've done a Beard Bear prediction over at Ballman, and there's some giveaways and stuff going on over there, so good luck if you're in any of those. Hopefully it's a 5-setter and we can all sit back and enjoy some good tennis, but I'm going for Nadal. I'll go for Nadal in 5 sets. I think Medvedev's good enough to get a few sets out. All right, guys, thanks for your support. I'll wrap it up there, and it's been a pleasure as always, and we'll see you